Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. My name is Piers. I invest in service accommodation business, run a portfolio of properties, helping loads of clients through my sourcing and consulting, and obviously I run an online program which I'm going to leave a link down below. Firstly, I get asked so much time, Piers, what's your day like? Especially in YouTube. I've been getting loads of people who are about to start service accommodation or Airbnb business or in property business, and they keep asking me, Piers, what's your day like? You know, are you always out and about? Or guys, I must say, you know, it's quite boring. I spend loads of time in this office here, taking loads of client calls, and generally, you know, especially running a portfolio of service accommodation business, making sure everything is in place. I manage my own properties, or obviously I do spend very little or no time doing it, but it is actually quite boring. But at the same time, it's very rewarding, very, very good fun. And I really absolutely enjoy it. Now, on the other side of it, I spend loads of time, obviously, in Zoom calls with my clients who are in my consulting at the moment. And, you know, I help them actually grow their service accommodation business through branding side of the actual service accommodation. I keep sharing, obviously, my client successes through this channel, and that's something I really enjoy doing that. And on the other hand, I must say that I've been receiving loads of positive comments from people who are, you know, starting service accommodation business and are running service accommodation business. Seeing those kind of results, obviously it always helps and motivates people to actually go out there and find full businesses. Hopefully, if you're running a service accommodation business, you know, you must have seen 30,000 sales worth of client that we booked in 5 weeks time with my consulting client. Today's video is going to be something quite different. Again, I haven't done this kind of free YouTube training for a bit, so you guys are here for a treat. I want to make sure that I cover some of the fixed expenses for service accommodation business. And you know, one of the things I get asked through this channel, obviously my social media, obviously I've got a group for service accommodation marketing as well, and there's so much newbies who join the service accommodation group. And one of the things I get asked a lot is, Piers, what are the differences on the expenses of service accommodation business? And in today's video, this applies to either service accommodation or Airbnb business if you're doing especially a rent to service accommodation. So in this video, I'm going to share you my screen and let's crack on with today's free training. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this free YouTube training. It's fixed expenses for service accommodation property. So in this training, obviously it is a free training. I have been doing quite a few of this. If you've seen many videos in my channel, I've done Zoopla free training. I've done, you know, how to use OpenRent and many more. So I'll leave a link down below. So please make sure you're going out and checking out. But today's training is going to be quite fun because I'm going to cover kind of the major 4 things that you must know as a service accommodation owner. Now, the first thing I want to touch base is how service accommodation owners neglect this to understand details of their performance. And you know, I'm a massive fan, you must have seen with most of my videos, and I always talk about sales branding and, you know, how important that is in terms of the performance in general. So the second thing I'd like to talk about today is obviously your fixed expenses versus your variable expenses. The third thing I would like to cover today is obviously what you want to know is exactly the list of fixed expenses per property. And last but not the least, I'd like to cover today is how this one tip has saved me thousands of pounds so far, and also in coming months as well, which I'm quite glad to share through this free training. So now, how service accommodation owners neglect this to understand details of their performance. Now guys, as you can see from my screen, there's fixed expenses, which is obviously what I'm going to discuss with you today, but that relates to what a break even is for that specific property, which means obviously you've got fixed expenses that needs to be covered for you to break even for that property as a business as well. However, you also have the variable expenses in service accommodation business, and as long as you kind of know the fixed expenses, you understand what break even is, you also then understand what a variable expenses is, and also an overview of what your occupancy rate is, what gives you profit. So today's video is something that I want to make sure that a lot of service accommodation owners have always, you know, from most 90% of service accommodation owners who I speak to, have always neglected this, and as a result, they haven't been able to put highly profitable through their units, and that's purely the fact not knowing the exact fixed expenses, variable expenses, the break-even point, also the part of occupancy. So please make sure, again, that's something that you know before you start service accommodation business, or if you're running service accommodation business already, that's something I'd highly recommend you know in detail. Now, moving on to fixed expenses versus variable expenses. Obviously, today's video is all about fixed expenses, and I will do a video at later date some point about variable expenses of service accommodation business. Fixed expenses is, in a nutshell, you pay these expenses regardless of you having or trading any guests or not. Now, obviously, I'm relating it more to as service accommodation business. So, for example, if you've still got no guests throughout the month, which isn't the case, but let's say you didn't have any, then you will still pay that expenses. That's what a fixed expenses is. They are basically, they do not change with the activity of volumes, which means obviously it doesn't matter if you have 1, 2, 3, 10 guests, you still pay that as a fixed expenses, and obviously you pay that in a monthly agreement. One of the example being rent. Variable expenses can be changed based on day, week, month, although it depends on the users of your clients and serving of your guests. Obviously, for example, let's talk about cleaners. Your cleaners are only going to go in when we know that you're going to have a guest staying there, and obviously you need your cleaners to go in, and that's variable expenses. They are only going there once you have a guest in. Now, I quickly want to touch base. Obviously, I hope you are kind of learning and enjoying this video, but touch base on, the video is more towards making sure that you understand it's for expenses for your property. So you might have 1 property, 2, 10, 50, but we're talking about more property expenses rather than service accommodation business expenses. Obviously, running a business is completely different in terms of you have your own expenses for your business. This is per property expenses. So again, let's go back to the screen and I'll share you more of the details of what a property expenses will look like. So as you can see from the screen, so the first expenses that you're gonna incur as a rent to service accommodation business is obviously the rent that you're going to agree with the estate agent or the landlord. The second thing is obviously you have to pay the business rates, or some people, again, there's a massive debate on it, is some people have left it as a council tax. Now, the third thing is your utilities. Now, I know your utilities can differ in terms of depending on how many clients that's going to go in and use it, but that there's a certain amount that you're going to pay every month, obviously towards the utility expenses. Your Wi-Fi is another fixed expenses. One of my property, not all my properties got this, but one of my property has got Sky, and most of my properties actually got Netflix, so obviously I've got a set fee to pay for that as well. One of my property, I have to pay a parking permit per month, because it's quite nice and exclusive. So that's again an extra cost, which is obviously per month, and it is a fixed expenses. And most of the time, a lot of people don't do this, is put their furniture leasing expenses. Obviously, if you've got a 36 months agreement with the rent, and you have a 36-month lease furniture's expenses, that needs to be put into your fixed expenses because you're going to pay that every month regardless. Now, I know there's a lot more to discuss, but they are pretty much your top few things that you need to make sure you're putting that in your deal analyzer to make sure you understand the fixed expenses of your service accommodation business. Well, I'm sure you're now excited about how I've saved thousands of pounds in the last few months and in the coming months, and really in the first few years I actually missed doing this, and I must say I've lost a fair bit of money as well. Well, I didn't lose it, but I know that I could have saved it. One of the things, obviously, I want to go back to the screen and I'll share you is please make sure you check your utilities details and provider. Now, when you're growing your portfolio, it certainly will be putting some money in your pocket. And the reality is, in long term, you're making sure that you have the right rates for your utilities, for your service accommodation properties, especially when you're growing that portfolio. You'll be saving so much money every month effectively that's you putting money in your pocket. So one of the biggest tip, like service accommodation owners actually don't do it, is not realizing that how much you can save in a long term with your utilities as well. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching this free YouTube training on your fixed expenses for service accommodation business. I've got so much other videos in my website. I'll put a link down below. Well, we're finishing this video, but I'd like to leave you with two things. One, if you could hit that subscribe button. Obviously I make videos like this to help you understand service accommodation and Airbnb business, but also leave a comment down below what you need to, if there's any things that you kind of didn't understand, and what would you like to see me doing in the next few videos so that you be able to understand, service accommodation business in a lot more detail. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.